you know, families first, loyalties first. Um, and, you know, that's how the Chinese family works.
Do you feel that, like being married to Paul, you kind of tend to agree more with him as you get older, or you stick to your guns, or?
I think I stick to my guns somewhat just because I still feel like we should financially support my parents or help them out at least in their old age, especially since, I mean, I was always so ill as a child and they always all took care of me. And, you know, at a certain level, I hated being the one that everybody cared for. Like, I wanted to be the one caring for people, you know, because it's almost like a position of power. Like, you have more power when you can give the care. And I just felt I owed it to them. So, you know, I, I don't want to raise my kids that way, though. I want to raise them the American way because I don't want to rely on my children when I get older. Really certainly don't. And because I think it's just a lot of pressure on them, you know? I think it kind of forces them to make decisions based on that rather than, you know, how they feel and what they want. So I think I accept the way it is with my parents now because that's how they grew up and they don't really know anything else. But then with my own children, I think it'll be very different.
How do you feel about having children that are half Caucasian, half Asian?
Um, I hate to say it, but um, I feel like it'll give them an advantage. I think having a little bit of both. I mean, like Asian people, it's very stereotypical that they're always very successful and they do really well. So I think they'll have that part going for them. And they'll have the white part, which means that they'll be more accepted here, which is unfortunate, but I think it's true. I mean, even if I see it in my own law practice, um, as far as lawyers go, still like 90% of you know of the profession is dominated by white people, and I think people have the perception that if you're white, you know that you understand the language better and you kind of understand because a lot of law has to do with language and words, and that's the perception. And I think it's the same with almost any profession. Like even as an accountant, I felt that way even though it had less to do with language, I think it had more to do with how you communicate with people. You know, if your clients are white, it's better if you're white because, um, you know, then they feel like you're familiar. So, I mean, I hate to say that I'm kind of glad they're going to have that part of them. It shouldn't make a difference, but I think it does. And I just want any advantage that I can get for them, you know, to make them successful. And I don't want them to feel, you know, kind of the pain of, you know, not getting what they want just because of what their nationality is. I mean, it's just because we're here in America. I mean, if we were in Thailand, it would be a different story. Or if we were in China, it would be a different story. But since we're here, you know, I just want them to be as successful as they can and get what they can. And, you know, I want them to learn how to speak Thai or Chinese, you know, so that they have that part of the culture in them. I don't want them to be 100% Americanized.
You're going to have to teach them Thai, right?
Yeah, I'm going to have to teach them Thai. Well, what I'm planning on doing is sending them to a school so I won't have to teach it to them. But they'd have to start from a young age. I think
Did Paul take Thai lessons?
Paul took Thai lessons, but he's not very good with languages. He took Spanish for 3 years and he can't speak any of it. So I think it's hard for him. And, you know, I'm not very good at teaching it. I think to teach it, you have to keep at it every day and speak Thai every day to your, you know, to your students, which I just don't do.
Well, do you ever wonder what it would have been like if we had stayed in Thailand?
Yeah. It's funny because I don't even know if we would have been prosperous in Thailand. Like, at first I thought we would be, but I think, I don't know, there's kind of this saying, like, if you're born something, you're always going to stay that. Like, I think my dad's a very smart man, but he didn't grow up in a rich household. And I think, he, even though he had all these ambitions and he had the intelligence, like, he just didn't, become the success that he wanted to be. And I think our family is just destined to be very working class. I don't think we're destined to be a family of leisure, even though we wanted to be. I just don't think it's in our, it's not part of our karma, you know. It's just, that's just how it is.
But you're a lawyer, you're doing very well. What would you call it, working class?
I'm a lawyer, but I still work very hard, and I'm not, I live in a modest home. I don't spend a lot of money on clothes or anything like that. I think Paul's the same way. His dad made a very good living as an engineer, but they always lived in a very modest home, and, you know, I just, well, going back to what our life in Thailand would have been like, I don't think necessarily we would have been like rich, leisurely people, which is what I mean. Like, I just think, we would have had a good life, I think. I think all of us would have been successful in some way. I think my parents probably would have ended up sending us to America for school anyway.
Do you think if you had lived in Thailand, you would have been able to pursue being a lawyer and all those things?
Well, I know a lot of Thai people who are lawyers. I think I could have been a lawyer. I think probably in Thailand it has a lot more to do with how much money your family has. Whereas in the US, it's, we could get student loans and we could go to inexpensive schools. So I think if our family had been well off in Thailand, then yes. But if not, I don't think there would have been much of a chance.
Okay. Did you feel a culture clash growing up? For example, not being able to celebrate Christmas like everybody else?
Yes, throughout my youth, I always felt like we weren't like everybody else. When Christmas came around, my parents would come and pick us up from school early so we wouldn't be part of the Christmas party, which was really sad when you think about it. And we never had Christmas gifts, and all of our friends knew, which was kind of sad. And, like my parents never went to PTA meetings, and they never like would go to like open house night or anything like that. And it's because I just feel like it is because they weren't comfortable with the language and they just didn't feel like they fit in. I think with parents now, it's like that's part of their social life is going to PTA meetings, but that they weren't interested in that. So, and my friends were in Girl Scouts. We never were in Girl Scouts, and yeah, I think there was a culture clash.
How do you feel the Asian family is different from the American family?
I think with Asian families, it's Asian families are almost forced upon you. You kind of feel like no matter what, you have to be loyal to them, even if they do something wrong. I think with American families, a lot of it is built off of actions. You have to earn respect, whereas with Asian families, naturally all the respect goes to the parents. And if you ever try to gainsay that, then you're like worse than the worst child, you know? Like that's the biggest sin, is being disrespectful to your parents and being disrespectful to your elders. Whereas I think with American families, you know, the parents